I have a question. So we got to see this sort of metaphor of young Rhaenyra coming back here. And there was a moment inside the episode at the end where they mentioned something about Daemon's first vision. Did you guys catch that? Right at the end,
something
there was
about
a way they framed it.
They said he's starting to.
Yeah.
They hinted that more of this is going to come.
So my question, and I'm ignoring anything I know from the book. I'm just having fun here. That's what the discussions are for. What do you think if you were just like exploding Daemon's subconscious out onto the screen here? What else would you want to see in these visions? If this is his like Christmas Carol moment of his, of seeing all of his past sins come to life and haunt him, would you throw in, I mean, if you could get any actor you want, if you could pull Viserys back in, would you see him? Would you have Blood and Cheese and Daemon have to actually reckon with what he did? Would you bring back the White Worm? Like, what do you think is next for these sort of, I don't know, Jiminy Cricket visions that he's having?
Sure. I mean, if this was my sandbox, I would just go full Richard III, and you bring back his first wife who he killed. You bring back in, Helaena. Like, effectively, it's his fault she died because he got her pregnant, right? Like, you could have that in there. Like, bring in everybody whose death he had a role in. Like, maybe even, like, I don't know, replicate the scene in, what is it, episode 2 or episode 1 where he's going nuts with the gold cloaks out in the city, right? Like, and all the atrocities he enacts there. Like, all of that stuff. Like, finally, this guy who's like always seemed like I have no conscience. I like don't care. I'm a sociopath. Like, see it all like kind of come to the front.
Even the crab feeder. You could have everyone he's scorched with his dragon.
Those visuals were so cool. Like with the way that they made the crab feeders costumes, it would be a shame not to bring him back in one of those visions.
That would be pretty cool.
I have sort of a curveball question spinning off of this. This episode starts this vision thing for Daemon, and we know we're going to get more of that through at least this season. I feel like you don't introduce that if you're not going to have more fun with it. You don't just do that the
one time, yeah.
And I think that's going to very much deepen our understanding of this character. And for me anyway, my investment in Daemon, I feel like I'll go deeper into his brain than I have anyone else. And it proves that the show can do surreal and supernatural stuff on screen. My question to you guys: should we have been doing this all along with Helaena and the dreams so that we could tell what those were about without having to freeze frame the show and do uncover the JFK assassination to find little clues of what the hell she's dreaming about?
Oh, like all the stuff on the walls in her room. You could make the argument to play the other side that we don't get to see Helena's visions because only she gets to see them, and we are everyone around her who she just seems crazy to us. But also, it would have been so cool. So, yeah, I think that
we'd know one thing about her character.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, she's become a plot device more than anything. I mean, because let's zoom out. What has she been in the story for? She had a baby so that he could get killed. And she said, "There's a beast in the boards." And
you do that so well every time. It's more unhinged every time you do it.
It's just going to be just absolutely
gibberish.
Yeah, by the end, there's no way anyone's going to know what I'm saying, but it'll sound vaguely British. She exists to do that and sort of be weird, and I guess is this clairvoyant character. But you're right. She has no characterization outside of that. This semi-oracular being. And to further sort of describe the schism and the difference between the visuals in this episode versus the first one, the second episode, sorry. The visuals there, it felt a lot like a music video. In that they didn't all necessarily make sense. They were these still images or lingering images that were supposed to be telling us a story, but it was so heavily up to interpretation of and not in a good way. Not like they left it super ambiguous. It was like nothing was happening and you're supposed to draw something from that. They're in the funeral procession and Helena's looking up at the confetti, the funeral confetti. I don't know what to call that.
I think it's. I think it was actually hops. I think I learned.
Okay, so she's thinking about what craft beer she's going to brew, I guess. But it lingered on that for 20 or 30 seconds of her just looking into that, and I don't know anything about Helena's character like enough that I can say, oh, she must be thinking about this.
Yeah, right.
You know, obviously she just lost a son, so she's probably thinking about that or lost in thought on that. But, you know, there's no other story for her to have. And they deprived us of that whenever they didn't allow she and Aegon to have that scene together.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like if there's a misstep in the series so far, it's just the treatment or lack of development of Helena's character. Add that to the fact that her scene with Alicent in this episode, again, I find myself forgetting that they're mother and daughter. Like,
I'm with you. Yeah.
Even the familial relationship is not coming across to me. Mm-mm. And I don't know if that's intentional, if she's supposed to feel hyper disconnected and disjointed because of these oracular visions that she gets. But it feels like she doesn't belong over there, especially with the development that the other two brothers in Aegon and Aemond are getting. And then Alicent, of course, herself, and Otto, everyone else over there. Larys even.
Yeah.
Foot Guy has gotten more character development than Helaena.
For real. Yeah, like I feel like if we'd had a bit more time with her and gotten to do something like you're suggesting, Kane, where we get to like see firsthand her visions, then at least we would feel connected to her. And then seeing her disconnect with the rest of her family would mean something to us.
Even her POV of that funeral procession with all of the commoners scrabbling up at her, that would have sold it a little more. Like, for characters who are driven by dreams and visions, we're 12 episodes into this series. How much more connected were you with Bran Stark 12 episodes into Game of Thrones?
For real. Yeah. Like, it's hard because you got so many characters, you got so much setting up to do, but I agree. This is sort of the weakest point. And so then, you know, when you see Blood and Cheese, that's a big one of the reasons why it wasn't as effective, was because, like, yeah, I feel for this woman who's seeing her child die, but I also don't know anything about her other than she's kind of weird. And it would have been more effective if I had seen some of the disturbing visions she had seen and like connected with her in some way. So yeah, Cam, it's weird that they're demonstrating that they can do this, and they just didn't with a key character.
This is not a lambasting of her performance, her actress's performance so far. I just and maybe we're being hasty. Maybe there's going to be something for her in the next few episodes. I just think it's when you compare Helaena to all of the other rich characters that have really made the Greens more fun for us to watch this season, it's just sort of like, you know, that there's something there they could dig out. It just hadn't really clicked for me yet.
Yeah.
If anything, it's that when we see that you can do that work with Daemon, it makes me frustrated that we could have been doing that work with Helaena.
Right.
I want to know this character better.